Finding partners you can trust is really difficult, but it's difficult for reasons you might not expect. And I want to talk about this in this regard. I've had a number of people come through our campus, take the training, and they'll say, Randall, I've tried using partners and it was a disaster. I say, people out there, they're trying to take your business from you. They're trying to take your intellectual property. They'll go behind your back and go straight after your customers. And, for you, that might be a very real situation that it may have happened to you. So I get it. I understand. What I would suggest to you is there's a different way to kind of approach this. And we're going to talk about 2-3 different things that I've kind of learned in teaching this and running this with my own business and doing it myself, okay? And I can tell you that I hadn't really entered into bad relationships. I've had relationships that didn't achieve the objective that I wanted, but not because I was dealing with unscrupulous people. That really wasn't my scenario or situation. Dealing with that is an altogether different matter. And so I want to talk about that particular issue because that's very near and dear for our community, is working with folks we can trust. So let's just go through 3 things that I think is going to really help you with that. The first one is be careful about entering into relations with people on short notice, for lack of a better phrase, shotgun weddings. Because you may not have given yourself enough time to really and truly assess what's going on with people. Did they demonstrate consistent behaviors? Like, did they meet obligations as promised? If they said they were going to call you at a certain time, did they call you on a certain time? If they said they were going to have action items to you by a certain time, did they deliver that by a certain time? Did people do what they said they were going to do when they said they were going to do it? And the way they said they were going to do it. Typically, those are red flags that you look past, but you want to be careful about that if you're talking about doing business a bit more deeply with someone. The second thing is, and this one I believe is the most important one, and we can spend a lot more time on this a little later, but it is, what is your trust model? And what I mean by that is, do you tend to be one of those people who don't trust anybody until they give you reason to trust them? Or are you on the other end of that spectrum where you trust everybody until they show you they weren't worthy of that trust? So you're either on one end of the spectrum where you don't trust anyone, that trust is earned, or you're on the other end, which is you're open to trusting everyone until they give you a reason not to trust them. Now, let me tell you why this is significant in terms of building relationships. It's significant because if you are open to trusting everyone, that you're okay with that unless they give you a reason not to trust them, you can potentially walk into a relationship too fast. You operate on a good faith principle, even if you went ahead and developed a contract and got everything negotiated out, in which case you may have some issues, some pitfalls, some disappointments, and you might decide that you got into the relationship too quickly, and it turns out maybe you didn't get into the relationship too quickly. Maybe you just needed to add a few more things to make sure that you have provisions in the contract to deal with anything that you didn't necessarily work through in how you approach trusting folks. All right. But that one is primarily a reflection of you because you tended to trust more. And so you opened yourself up to disappointments because you went ahead and trusted up front. That could work for you, and you can design around that and address that issue. So I'm not telling you to stop doing that. The other one is you may not trust anyone until trust is earned, and the risk that you run there is that you potentially could have good partners that you could be doing business with that really and truly can make a world of difference in what you're trying to accomplish and your goals, but you're artificially adding time and setting criteria and hurdles that they have to meet in order for you to get comfortable that this is someone you can work with. Once again, this is about you and your perspective and how you go to trust, not necessarily something inherent in the other person. So, what I want to leave you with on this topic, in terms of finding partners that you can trust, is do an honest reflection of yourself. What is your trust model? In this pendulum between, do you tend to trust a lot of people until they prove that they can't be trusted, or do you not trust anybody and trust is earned, or if you are someplace in the middle? And then how is that affecting your go-to-market strategy, who you work with, and how you build things out? And then there's a third dimension around what is it that you need for your partner to do, and how sensitive is that to the success of your business? That's a separate issue that we'll talk about at some point later. But that's my tip for you for today on finding people you can trust. It's first and on self, be true. Understand what your approach is. And if you find that you need to get into a relationship with someone based on your approach to trust, how do you put that in your contract, and how do you pick the people that you deal with, and what do they need to demonstrate to you in order for you to get comfortable, and what's the business risk in order for you to get comfortable with that? Or if you act quickly, how do you protect yourself against the downside risk? So that's it. Stay tuned for the live Q&A, and don't forget, schedule a Good Fit chat if you find this to be valuable and you want to look a little bit more deeply about ways we might be able to support you. And talk to you on the next session. Bye for now.